do it anymore because I haven't played.
I'm sorry. I'm just recording. Can you do that one more time?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So the thing is that I used to tilt, and I probably still do tilt quite fast. Like, as soon as I see someone doing something stupid, and I'm sure I've done some stupid stuff too, it tilts me so much I can't play well, especially if I die, like, first blood or something. Like, that makes me just want to turn off the game. And it just got to a point where it was a little too excessive, where, you know, my wait times were like 20 minutes between games because I just left the games many times like that, right? And I thought about it. I'm like, okay, obviously I shouldn't do that, but I don't know how to stop that. And especially as a support player, you just feel sometimes helpless if your team's doing really bad, because you're more of an enabler rather than the damage dealer. And obviously you can carry with support too, just that I don't know, so there's just some in my head where I just can't get over that, so wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. Also wanted to talk to you in general about what you think are the most important things.
Okay, wait. Let's first address the first thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry if I sound a little weird. I've been coaching like all day, so my throat's a little bit off. But so you leave games because you think that if your teammate makes a mistake, you leave games. Why?
It just tilts me really hard.
Okay, but you realize that you're playing in Diamond 4. Right?
Right.
And in Diamond 4, you can't... I mean, they're... Like, the Diamond 4 is the equivalent of silver and bronze. Well, maybe not bronze, but like silver. Right?
Okay, what do you mean by that? Because obviously they're different.
Well, they're different by ranking, but they're not actually that different. The shit that happens in Diamond 4 is the same shit that happens in silver. Except the Diamond 4s are a little more mechanical. That's it. That's all they are. The Diamond 4s managed to find their keyboards, whereas the silvers are still... They're still trying to find where they lost their keyboards at. That's the only difference between a diamond and a silver.
I agree.
Right?
Okay.
Anyone can make it to diamond. But the problem is, you can't expect players at that caliber to do anything. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, you're playing support, and well, you're essentially just asking for it at that point. Like, you're a support. Why don't you go into mid and top and just decimate everybody until master?
Because I've tried every single role. I just really enjoy that play style. I enjoy the champions that I play. I've tried playing.
What do you play?
I mainly play like Thresh, Pyke, Janna, Rakan. Crap, don't really remember anymore. Hold on, let me look at it.
You should have like 2, so it's probably a bad thing that you have more than 2.
Okay, fair enough. I would say probably the 2 most fun champions for me to play are probably like Thresh and Rakan.
Okay. Now, I mean that's fine. Now, I mean you're tilting because your ADCs are inadequate, right? Correct?
Yes.
Well, what gives you the right to deserve a good ADC? Why are you entitled to have a good AD?
Because I personally feel like I play really well. Of course, sometimes not really, but majority of the time...
If you played well, you wouldn't be Diamond 4.
I mean, that's kind of true, but at the same time, I feel like you're kind of dependent on your team. Like, in League of Legends in general, you're playing against
but there's
5 people and you have 4 people
there's master supports and challenger supports that queue up solo.
Mm-hmm.
They climb.
Mm-hmm.
And they carry.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm not perfect. I know there's a lot more I could do. It just like...
See, the issue is, like, you're not allowed to tilt because you're not that good. Right? You're not. And like, you can't expect a good ADC if you're not a good support. Likewise, I mean, I have AD carries that come to me and they're like, "Oh, my fucking support sucks." I'm like, "Well, yeah, you suck." Like, if you were a better player, you would be a higher rank, and then you would get queued up with better supports.
Makes complete sense.
There's, like, no, there's no world where, like, that is somehow an argument or, like, an excuse for anybody in bot lane, right?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's say I'm playing a game, right? I'm starting a game. I'm playing with this ADC. He does some so fucking ridiculous, and I just know he's not gonna play well.
Yep.
Do I just, that shit tilts the shit out of me. Like, I want to leave. I don't want to be around him. I don't want to play this game. Because then for like 30, 40 minutes, it's basically a 4v5. Because I know this player is going to be absolute donkey. And, yeah, I get it that maybe I am not that good and I would play with better ADCs. But, I mean, it still is kind of a like tossing a coin, right?
Of course.
Like, sometimes I get pretty good ADCs, sometimes I get really shitty ones, like, like I've played with both, and
well,
like
even the good ADCs are only better than the enemy. That's all. They're not actually that good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, your AD does something stupid and you get tilted.
I get super tilted. Like, then I'm just sitting in there in lane, and I don't feel like I can play proactively in lane, because all I could do is basically sit back and protect them, or peel for him, or leave the lane, but then he's gonna complain, and it's just like, I don't know.
Can you see my screen?
Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do what I do. Now the way I play League and the way that I am climbing currently, and I'm climbing really fucking well doing this. And I picked it up as of recent, and I'm well on my way to Masters again, with roles that I before could not reach. Is very simple. I don't try to win the games. Okay? When I get into a game, my goal is not to win. My goal is to do well. Whatever happens after that is fucking not my problem. It's not my responsibility. I don't care. I can go 4 to 5 losses, and I won't tilt, as long as I play well. Now, if I basically put myself out of 10, right? Like, how well I played out of 10. Now, some games, I would play, now I'm going to use myself as an example, when I was not a better player, I would play 4 out of 10. That's not good, right? In the next game, I will play 9 out of 10. I played pretty well. The next game, my teammates would tilt, they would do something stupid, I would play at a 3 out of 10. The next game I would tilt, I would play 1 out of 10. And then now we're getting into a loss streak, right? And then I'll be out of the loss streak, and then maybe I'll play at a 7 out of 10. Whatever. The only difference is, if I changed all of these numbers to like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, I probably would win at least like 80% more games. Because your tilt is just benefiting your losses. Right? Sure, your teammates do stupid shit, but that should not affect your play. Your goal should not be to win the game. Your goal should be to get better. Not necessarily, well, get better, obviously, but do well every single game. The only time you should be mad about anything would be being mad at yourself.
So you're shifting it from caring about the win, which you're not always in control of, to caring about how you.
Well, actually, you're not in control of. You're control of it maybe 20% of the time, if you're not a Smurf or something, right? 10 players, you're have 10% of the time. You're in control of. You're 1 out of 10 players, right? So only 10% out of 100 that you are able to actually are making sure that you can always be that significant variable, right? Now, your goal, again, it's not to win the game. You're not going to win every game. I don't win every game. Challengers, Rush lost like 5 games in challenge in Diamond 4 Japan. Okay. You can't carry all of them. They're insanely bad. And it's the same thing in like with other players, right? Like fucking TF Blade lost in silver. Dopa has lost in gold. Like, players do this shit. I was queued up with my challenger, with a challenger friend of mine, and we lost in like low diamond, mid diamond. We lost like 2-3 in a row because we just fucked up. We tilted. It happens, right? This was obviously a while back, but like, it happens. Now, your goal is not to win the game. It's to do really well every single time you get onto the game. Just do well. Now, if you're playing like shit, that you should be angry about.
Okay.
Right? But nothing else. Unless, now there's obviously an exception. If a player is actively trolling you, okay? If a player is actively trying to get a reaction out of you, or actively trying to fucking, like, you know, just running it down on purpose, or doing stupid shit, yeah, sure, just leave the game at that point. That's what I would do. Right? I would just leave the game.
Okay.
Okay? But, like, your teammates want to win. We'll call them teammates for now. Your quote-unquote teammates want to win. Everyone wants to win. That's why they're queued up for a game. Nobody queues up for League of Legends. I'm fucking gonna lose some LP tonight, you know? Like, no one does. Nobody wants to lose. And you can't get mad at people for that, because it's not that they're actively trying to lose. They just don't know how to win. That's why they're in Diamond, like 5 and 4, Diamond 4 and Platinum. So you can't blame them for that. You can't blame someone for just not being able to do it. They just don't have the ability to.
Okay.
Right? You're like picking on the fucking handicapped kid. Like, that's not cool. It's just not. It's absolutely terrible thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not cool. Not saying anything. I'm not, fucking, I'm gonna get hate for this, but
No.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay. So basically you're shifting it from playing with my team and playing to win to playing to get good myself with, like, my own intuition, right?
Yeah.
Right, so here's my question: how do I know I played 9 out of 10, or 4 out of 10, or 7 out of 10?
Yeah. Now that's actually a really good question. A lot of that can be based on personal perception. For me, that perception is now it depends how deep you actually think about the game, right? There are certain metrics that can determine how you're doing. I don't think KDA is a very good metric to determine how you're doing, although in some cases it can help. KP as a support is, I believe, a metric that can help. KP for a mid laner or a top laner isn't necessarily something that you should be looking at. However, KP for an AD carry or a jungler can actually be alright to look at.
Why is that?
Well, top laners split push. Mid laners can split push, right? And if you're split pushing, you're not going to be participating in kills. Sometimes the best play is not to fight at all, right?
Okay.
But an AD carry, by nature, has to be in all the fights.
Right.
By nature, can't be splitting. When's the last time an AD was... Yeah, you can't be fucking splitting unless you're, like, reckless or something, losing in fucking worlds, yeah. Now, you know what I mean? Like, there's... KP can matter for certain roles. KDA, it can be kind of a metric. CS is definitely a metric. However, CS can also be determined relative to game volume, right? But then CS
over... a lot of fighting, right?
Yeah, if there's a lot of fight, yeah, of course. But then if there, like... It doesn't really matter, because CS over a certain amount of time will begin to average out. So if you score 6 CS one game, should not mean that you score 6 CS the next game, or 5 CS a minute the next game, or like, that's a problem. You know? But if you're scoring like 8 CS one game, 9 CS one game, and then you have that occasional 5 CS because everyone's a fucking ape, that's totally okay. That's completely fine. Right? That's okay. But there's certain metrics. Now, another metric could be like an unknown metric in this, or an unknown variable, in the sense where you can look at the videos, cross-reference the pointers, and see if you're actually doing them or not. And if you're able to copy the pros. This is kind of abstract, because there's a number of topics that could be relative to this, right? But if you know you're copying the pros, even to like a certain degree, then that enough is I guess you can call it like an entity, or a variable that can determine that, okay, well, I'm playing at least 8 out of 10. It's not bad, right? But the point is, when you play like ass. You just know it, that you don't need like a metric for. When you play like shit, right? Maybe you don't know when you play well, because maybe you don't know the right call, but when you're playing like garbage, and the less you have those kind of feelings, the better.
Fair.
Okay. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So just base that off that.
Yeah. Like I'll show you one of my games here. This is a new ID of mine, right? So I'm getting this up to like a new season, so we're working on climbing, right? The MMR is like Diamond 2. So I played relatively well, but we lost. I didn't feel that bad. I tilted this game a little bit. I knew I tilted. I'm like, all right, no worries. I played relatively well. We won. Right? We won the game. I made some mistakes, but we won the game. Now, even if I had lost this game, I wouldn't have felt that bad. Because I played well. I beat the jungler.
Right, and that's what matters in the end of the day, in the long run.
Exactly. That's what matters in the long run.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any...
Okay. No, all of this makes sense, and it's actually helping quite a lot. Because sometimes, you know, like, the reason I would quit and tilt that hard is because I feel hopeless. Like, I feel like I can't do anything, and it's wasting my time, you know? But, like, if you switch it to a way of, like, even if your entire team is, like, just horse shit, you need to focus on you and how well you're playing, because that's what matters. So,
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay. So there's that. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is, obviously there's many ways to improve yourself. You know, watch VODs, you know, watch your replays, you know, read guides, whatever. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say as a support player, or maybe it's the same for any role? Like, what is like a routine you think is very beneficial for majority of people? Like after playing a game, if it's a loss, then, you know, rewatch the game and see why you lost, like what you.
Well, if you so okay, like that's like fucking going through a haystack without knowing that you have to find a needle.
Ooh, okay.
Right? Like you're not I'm not gonna fucking, I'm not like, you know, leveling your how competent you are or anything, but you're not competent enough to go into your games and be like, all right, X move is wrong, Y move is wrong, Z move is wrong. Because if you were, you would not be at the elo you're playing at. You're not a coach. Yeah. That's why you come to coaches, right? Okay. So when you don't know that a needle exists and you're just rummaging through a haystack, like, what the fuck are you achieving? Nothing. You don't know what to look for. So why watch your own replays? That's actually detrimental because you're coming around. You're just wasting time. There are players that, it's funny because there are players that would watch their replays over and over again and would achieve fucking nil. Mm-hmm. Because they think that they fucked up because X reason is why it is, right? But they don't understand that Y exists or Z exists or whatever exists. They don't know that, right? They think that, oh, you know, I lost this because I ate a wave and I lost this team fight, which gave them Baron. But they don't realize that they flashed like 3 minutes prior to that fight in bot lane, thus not having flashed up into top when the Baron was spawning, in which then eating the wave was correct. But because they flashed and used their summoners at a prior time inside of the game, they lost the team fight. They can't decipher that.
Okay.
So then they go in circles. It's like actually crazy.
I mean, okay, that makes complete sense. So, what would you do instead? So, one thing you said is watch the pros, right? But also, here's the thing. You just said that I'm not competent enough to see my own mistakes. So, how, if I watch a pro, do I see...
Well, that's when you contact the translator. Okay, let me elaborate. League is a language, okay? League of Legends is a language, and coaches, so including myself, I'm a self-proclaimed coach. Okay. That, you know, Reddit, fucking... you know, whatever. And I'm a translator. So I look at the game and I translate it to people that otherwise can't read it. And so that's what you do. You talk to a coach. You talk to me. I'm one example, right? So you get a translator. The translator translates the concepts if he's competent, right? If he has some level of competence, he'll translate the correct, he'll decode the language to you.
Okay.
The language is not situational, it's in concepts, because humans as a species, we think in concepts, we don't think in specifics. Right? Conversation is in concepts. Likewise, the game is in concepts. Now, when you play the game and you essentially know what concepts to look for, so when you know that, okay, this is the needle, well, then you can go to the next pro game, have the haystack, and try to find the needle. Now you know what the needle looks like. You know that the needle exists.
Right, okay.
Right? So, you contact a coach. The coach tells you what to look for through concepts. You decipher those concepts, and you try to relate those to the games that you see higher level players do. And then what you do is after you've seen them play the concepts out, like this is the shit I've done all throughout my YouTube videos. Then you simply apply that to your own game. So you copy paste. Now, the problem that a lot of players fall into, especially in Diamond, is that they're not able to physically maneuver. And that's not something that I can teach them, right? That's something they have to practice. But you can learn that. Because humans, like, we practice, right? Until it's second nature. Isolation practice exists, right? And many other methods of learning exist. In which then all you have to do is very simple. You implement those things, and then I guarantee that it's gonna work out. There's players that have gone to Diamond up to Masters doing these things, right? Like Plays TV was a thing. I mean, not anymore, but like, you know what I mean? Like there's replay systems. Yeah. Okay. Does that answer?
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. So so after you explain this, like my thought process right now is like, why don't we go over maybe like the laning phase of like a pro or like a really good support player, and maybe you like, you know, analyze it with me and tell me like what you think and stuff like that, like so I can pick up on some of the things that I need to be looking for in those videos and then apply them to my own game.
Yeah, we can do that. Do you want to just do the verbal today, or do you have like any other questions?
Well, basically my biggest question was the tilt one, and then the second question is like, how do I, in your opinion, how do like majority of people get better over time? I mean, you're a person that climbed all the way to Masters. I've been playing since season 3, and I only got to like peak was maybe like D3 something. And again, I tilted throughout every single season. Sometimes like I would just lose a bunch and just basically get.
I mean, people get to Masters for different reasons. Like I'm not a master player. I only retain it for like a week.
Okay.
I mean, I hit it multiple times, but I didn't retain it. Like the max I ever reached was like 150 LP duoed, and then after that I would go from like 50 to 75 LP, and like I'm a seasonal Diamond player. That's what I'm able to do right now because that's how much I invest, right? Yeah. Now, I mean, I've been playing since season 6, but like that just depends on person to person, right? Everyone gets to higher elo for many reasons. A lot of these idiots, they're one tricking, right? So you can get into higher elo for the wrong reasons. You can get into higher MMR for the complete wrong reasons. Nubarak, huge example. Massive example. This guy doesn't even belong in gold, let alone fucking like, you know, Diamond. And yet
but he just plays a lot.
And he just plays a shit ton. Hashinshin doesn't belong in Masters, dude. Look at him. Can't even fucking count to 5. Can't even count the jungle CS. He's always getting ganked. All right. So there's people that get to high elo for like the wrong reasons. I mean, Masters and NA isn't very like, it's not an achievement, right?
Sure.
But that's like, I think perception perspective of like people to people. But I mean, what you need to do as a support player, especially in Diamond 4, and this is something that I tell all Diamond 4s, is you need to go into mid and top and learn how to play the lane.
Got it. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like,
and why is that?
Well, what do you think the difference is between, like you and a challenger? Okay. Aside from Alicopter, what do you think the difference is between from you and let's not even say challenger, because challenger's a stretch.
As a support player or in general?
As a support player, what's the difference between you and like a Diamond 1 or a Master support?
They just have more knowledge on what to do and also knowing how to execute it better than I do.
But if that's the case, if they have more knowledge than you, then like why? Like there's like the knowledge is there. The knowledge is there, so it's not necessarily not. There are support players that fucking don't know anything. I had to teach. I'm not gonna name names, but I had to teach a top challenger jungler how to manipulate waves. And he got there, assassinating people. That's it. That's all he did. He was great at timing things, and so he got into challenger, top 10 challenger by the way in NA, and he didn't understand how lane state works. So I taught him.
Wow. Okay.
And he was like, "Fuck, I didn't know that." I'm like, "Well, shit. Okay, I don't know how you're up there, but you are."
Okay.
So
yeah. So it didn't quite answer the question. Like, why would it, like, if I play support,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I get it, like, there is, like, concepts that you learn mid and top, but they also apply to support, too. Trading, you know, all
Yeah,
of that
trading
stuff.
and spacing and all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Like, why don't I just keep doing that in support if that's the role I'm used to, and if that's the champions I want to play? Because it is that role, right? Like, I can't go into mid and top and learn, like what would be the difference? Like, why do you recommend that?
Mid lane and top lane push you to win. Support pushes you to assist, I would say. It's kind of a okay, it's actually a really good question. So I'm actually having some trouble answering that, but like I know the answer, but I'm trying to break it down to you. The reality is the things that supports have to do. So okay, supports okay, so imagine this. Like, supports are literally just the people in the back in a, well, then again, I can't use that example. Like, I can't use a war example because doctors actually are very respectable. Fuck. Hold on. I need to find an analogy. Like, okay, like let's talk about like war zones, like in the olden days, right? Like, you would have two armies fight or whatever, right? Well, the supports would just be like the fucking meds, the medics that would come in and, you know, heal people. They don't need to know how to fight. You know what I mean? And to climb League of Legends, you need to know how to fucking get your hands dirty and actually be able to lane properly, right? So when you give the doctor a sword, he's gonna fucking look at it and he's gonna try to, like, he doesn't know what to do with it. He'll fucking think it's like a can opener or something. He doesn't know how to fight. But
how does that benefit me as a support player?
Well,
like, if I want to support in the long run, right? That's the
well, you gotta learn how to fight.
Okay.
You gotta become, like, this is fucking gonna sound cheesy and weird, but you gotta be like the warrior instead of the medic.
Okay.
Right?
I hope it's okay if I, like, you know, ask all these questions.
Yeah, no. This is a verbal, of course. Yeah, ask like whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
You need to learn how to fight. If you don't know how to fight, you're not gonna climb. If you don't know how to lane, if you don't know how to win a lane against a master laner, one-on-one, through manipulation of lane state, through proper pockets, through proper jungle counting, through proper trading, through proper spacing, then you're never going to sit there in the backlines or whatever and assist your ADC because you're not going to be adequate enough to do so.
So support's basically holding me back from learning quicker how to
Yes.
get to...
Yes, you can still do it, right? Like, you can go to a fucking gym, do everything wrong, and as a newbie still gain muscle.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the most effective way. And the purpose of coaching is to accelerate the climb, right? And the best way to accelerate the climb is you go into mid and top, you learn how to actually fight, you lose a bunch of times, you learn how to lane, you learn how to track the jungler and all the stuff that, you know, we talk about, and then you take that and you put it into support. Like, if I took a random like, okay, let's take a random Chinese challenger or a random Korean challenger. So the Korean challenger, and then there's let's say there's the NA, or let's say the NA challenger for the sake of the argument. I know you're EU, but whatever. Now let's say that the NA challenger moves. Now this is an NA challenger support player, and he goes into mid lane. He will have a bad win rate. Right? Hypothetics. He will have a bad win rate because he doesn't understand mid lane enough. But the Korean challenger support is better at laning. Where then if he goes into mid lane, he will have a decent win rate. Because this guy here understands laning better than this guy here. And he's able to perform it.
So is support basically a role you shouldn't play until really later on?
Yes, well, and if you're low elo, if you're like silver gold or something, then you should not play support. If you're platinum, fucking sure, I guess you can get away with it. But if you're platinum, then you should have an alt ID where you're climbing in top and mid. And it depends on which role you pick, because the role you pick also depends on what champs you play in the support role. And if you're diamond and you're diamond 4, then you're actually the equivalent of a platinum, because there's really no difference. And what you need to do is you need to do the same thing a plat does. But in your case, because you're main support, you should just go mid and top. But in your case, because you're playing stuff like Thresh and Rakan, I would just go play tanks in top lane. Tanks in top lane. Learn how much damage you can absorb, learn how much damage you can soak up, and learn engage timings. Because that's the champions you play. And if you're a mid player, then I'm assuming you play shit like Zyra, Soraka, Nami, even though Nami is like, I mean, aside from the buff she just got with her E, she was pretty much just a worse Janna. But I think now she's found her place, and she's a lot better than Janna, currently.
Okay.
But then these mages, they replicate these champions, they replicate mages, and where then you can play Zyra mid, you can play Karma mid, right, and you can play like Annie mid.
Help me with my Janna.
Yes, that'll help you with, because the dynamic is the same, right. Because they both position, they're both casters, right? They both play team fights relatively the same, where they dish out damage, they back off as they're on cooldown, right?
So I basically need to transition to a solo lane and play champions that facilitate the same exact concepts I would use with champions.
Exactly. But first you need to find your dynamic.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, it's either you're playing stuff like Thresh, Pyke, and Alistar, or you're playing shit like Janna, Soraka, and Nami. Those are two different dynamics. You don't pick. You can't do both. Like, we are not meant to multitask. It's a lot easier to like, for example, me. Like, I choose the champions I play up to Masters would be like, I play Taliyah and Nidalee. Right? They're kind of alike. I don't pick Elise because I'm not good enough to play her. Yeah. And before that, when I was playing in mid lane, I would play stuff like Orianna and Twisted Fate. They're also similar, right? In AD carry, I would play stuff like fucking Ashe and Caitlyn. They're kind of similar in range, right? So you have to have similarities when you play, because if you take two different dynamics, it's not going to end well for you.
Okay. So, okay, so let's say I go to top lane. Can we 1v1 and you tell me, like, some of the things you think I could...
Yeah. We can do that in the we can write that down and do that in the sessions.
Okay. So basically just get an account, start playing ranked, and just play like top. And like, obviously the most I enjoy is like Thresh, Pyke, Rakan. So I should play tanks. So which tanks do you recommend in general?
I would just say you can just play Garen and Darius. I mean, although they're not like Thresh, Pyke, and Rakan level, like they're different. They're still champions that soak up damage. They're still champions that you need to have some level of foresight on. I would say more Garen. Honestly, I would even tell you to play like fucking, I don't know, like pick tanks in top lane. Like you can pick something easy, like Malphite. You could probably play.
Okay.
Right.
And then just focus on the basics.
Yeah, and then like focus on the basics, because you need to learn how to soak damage, how much damage you can come in. You need to know engage timings, engage angles, just all this little nitty gritty stuff that you need to get used to, and that's gonna help your Thresh, right?
Okay. At what point do I transition back to support?
Now you can do one of two things, right? You can have an account where you support on, and you can and you play another account to diamond with lane only. Or you just straight up get to high diamond and then transition back to support. But I don't know how long the latter is gonna take. Because because high diamond is.
In the end of the day. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I was done pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, I still want to enjoy it, and I enjoy the game, of course. So I think I'm probably gonna go with the first option.
Yeah.
Okay.
The downside is that you have to play more games, but hey, whatever. It's fine, right?
Okay, so here's another question, right? I travel for work.
Okay.
Sometimes my boss comes out to me and says, Nick, for 2 weeks, I need you to go to New York, to LA, to Chicago. You need to do work there 2 weeks in a row. So it comes out of nowhere.
Sure.
Then I don't play for 2 weeks, right? So basically, I should just watch, VODs of like
I guess you could do that. You could do that. Do you have like a laptop?
I do.
But it's probably a work laptop, isn't it?
Yes.
Fuck.
I mean, even if I get like a gaming laptop, I'm gonna play with what the Wi-Fi of the hotel I'm staying at. Like this shit's not gonna, like it's just not gonna work.
How often do you have to go on these business trips?
Usually once a month for a week or two. So it's pretty frequent.
Okay, then I would say divide your time. How much time do you play League? How many hours do you play in a day?
I think that fluctuates a lot. Sometimes I don't play at all. Sometimes I play for 10 hours. It just depends where I have time.
Okay.
But on average, I would say, at least 3 hours a day.
Yeah, that's more than enough. So you could divide it into two portions where one you first study the game for when you're out of the country or the city. And then you have another 2 weeks where you just practice, but you practice hard, and then while you're practicing, you don't actually watch. You don't waste time watching. You just replicate.
Okay.
Right? I mean, that's probably how I would go with it.
Okay.
Okay. Like I used to do, like I would like I don't do this anymore because I'm coaching majority of the time, so I never really play the game much. But I used to play the game some days, and I used to study the game the other days. And that used to be okay with me. But I mean, I'm like a type of player if I don't play for a while, I like lose all my mechanics.
I do too.
Yeah.
I lose all of it.
Yeah.
I need like a day or two to.
I mean, this is gonna sound pretty extreme, but you could always just go to a gaming cafe for like a little bit. Like I live in Canada. I live in Canada, right? So I don't really know like how many cafes there are in like.
I mean, in the big cities, I'm sure there's a bunch, but
yeah.
Sometimes I'm in like bumfuck Iowa, so.
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna find a cafe there.
Yeah, definitely not.
There's some good ones here, but like, yeah, like it's not hard.
Yeah, I mean, I can get like a gaming laptop and try and do that, but I feel like the Wi-Fi is not consistent. I don't know if that's gonna fuck too much with playing.
Well, as long as again, you don't have to win. I mean, you have like alt IDs where you can just practice on, right?
Sure.
So it's not necessarily like some of the best weightlifters, and please fucking Reddit don't quote me on this because I'm not too sure, but
okay.
Some of the best weightlifters, I'm not a bodybuilder, but they do like they used to do motions without any weights, right? So
sure.
So that means you I mean, like in your case, you could probably go into like Aim Booster or Osu or Os. I will have fucking people like it's pronounced Os. You can go into that game with the fucking the anime. You know what I mean? It's that yeah. The thing. I don't know why it reminds me of fucking anime, but anyways, it's all they have. It's all the just fucking yeah.
Okay.
You can do that. And then obviously I just mentioned Aim Booster. There's like other League of Legends tools out there on the internet that you can definitely also use to practice. And then that could help you with like, movements in certain areas of your gameplay. But I think the majority of your gameplay would be coming out from like, or the majority of your improvement would be coming out from like watching, right?
Yeah.
Which you can do anywhere, so it's fine, right?
Okay.
And that's why I play jungle only, by the way, like nowadays. Because laning is I don't have time to lane, so I jungle. Because I can just watch. It's easier.
Yeah, okay. Why don't we go over like that, like a short VOD of like a Korean support challenger and like look over that. So that can just kind of give me, okay, these are some of the things I should be looking for, so.
I mean, we can just talk about it if you want, because going over.
I mean, sure. I mean, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to,
it's a verbal, so I just wanted to, yeah, so I mean, here's some things. Like, okay, this is like the question is really like linear. The Korean or the Chinese challenger or whatever would or the pro, right? Even the NA pro or the US pro, depending, right? Core JJ, aka, right? Would space better. Track abilities used better. Track the jungler better. Spelled that wrong. Well, obviously he would just do all of it better, so I don't really know why I'm typing this, but he would space a lot more adequately, tracking abilities used, like in the middle of in lane, right? If Thresh uses Q, if Morgana uses Q, he knows exactly when it's going to be back up, in which then he can retain certain pockets or change his position to threat whatever ability. And then this is where League becomes a conversation. He can track the jungler better. Warding is not fucking, like, warding only happens when you track the jungler. I don't know why people keep saying warding is a fundamental. You don't just throw down a ward and call it, I warded the bush, I'm fucking challenger. No, it's not how it works. You have to ward for a reason. Warding is not a fundamental in hyper low elo. In hyper low elo, all you do is you throw down a ward, and you lane. That's all you got to do. And after like platinum or so, when the junglers start becoming human beings, you can then track them and then you can ward, but you only ward relative to, you know.
But you don't always just ward for the jungler. Like
it could be for
warding for the objectives.
Or the objectives. Well, you're warding for something, right? You're warding for something.
Okay.
But warding without purpose is fucking senseless, right? So warding becomes a fundamental after, like in platinum.
Understand.
Below platinum, warding is not a fundamental. Warding is just something you do, so you just place the ward and don't die, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he can do that better. His mouse speed is better. His mouse speed and his camera movements are a lot better, and he gains more information with the camera movements, right?
So I should watch a video of like literally just the screen of the player.
Yeah. Don't watch like the replay, like on the client style replay.
Okay.
Those are bad.
Okay.
But watch like pro VODs. Like invest in that. Like it's $30 for a one-time payment. It's actually decent, and I don't use it because I really don't have the time to use it much anymore. But just do it. Like they're here. I'll literally show you. I don't know if I'm allowed to. Well, fuck it. I've done this many times before.
You're talking about like the Pro View, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a $30 payment. It's completely worth it if you're trying to, you know. And this is your haystack. And now just go find the fucking needle, right? Look at LCK players. It's probably better. Look at any games played. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if it's pro games either, because you're looking at primarily just the laning. And then you're gonna go into select stream. We're gonna look at we can take a look at Joker. So that's pretty good. And then you just watch him. You look at his movements. You look at what screen, like why he's looking at the screen, or where he's looking at the map. Sorry. And you know, you just do that. That's all you gotta do. There's too much information on the internet for people to not be higher elo. Okay.
No excuses.
There are absolutely no excuses. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Why don't you state some of the other things that you know is also important to look at?
Well,
you stated some, but
I mean, there's fundamentals, right? There's spacing, there's tracking the abilities used, there's tracking the junglers, there's warding relative to where the jungler is, relative to what information, what objectives are up. Mouse speed, there's accuracy of the mouse, there's fucking there's tilt, right? Like controlling mental, like, you know, making
that's a big one.
That's a big one. Yeah, when your ADC is being a complete fucking ape, you want to be like, okay, well, this guy, so it's not his fault, he was born this way, it's all right. You know, like you just kind of have to deal with it. Yeah, for now that's it, to be honest.
I mean, that's
and then obviously trading. I don't know how I forgot about that one. Yeah, so like trading, you know, just like pockets, right? Like, and that comes back to spacing though, you know.
Yeah. So basically, like, let's say I'm looking at trading, right?
Yep.
Like, let's say I watch a player like Joker play, and I see when he trades, and if I think like, why did he trade there, and like analyze that and try and figure out why he did that, and why I should do that too, and that's kind of.
You don't have to analyze why he did that. That's my job. Like in the videos. You just watch the videos. You know why he does that. He does it because the enemy has to take a last hit, or maybe Kench is going for a Targon stack, and so he hits them with whatever, right?
Okay.
That much is like I'm doing most of the work in these videos, right? For people, all they have to do is just copy it, right? Take the concepts and just copy it, because trading, yes, it's a fundamental, but trading allows trading is like, it breaks down into what abilities were used, pockets, trade minions, and then like incentive of the trade, or like what's the purpose of the trade? Because there's sometimes when you trade and even though you win the trade, you don't actually win the trade, because maybe the wave isn't beneficial, right? So yeah, yeah. So
okay.
It's stuff like this, but I mean, this is where you go into the videos, man.
Got it.
Okay. All right. Do you have any more questions?
No.
All right then.
That is all.
Cool. That is it for tonight. I will see you next time. We'll figure out a schedule. I'll give you a DM. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you,
I'll talk to you later, man. All right.
Thanks a lot.
All right. No worries. Good luck. Bye.